My parents promised inheritance equality, then gave my property to my brother quietly. When I confronted them, they called me greedy. Probate law, asset records, and legal counsel corrected the story permanently. Dad already signed the lake house over to me 3 months ago, my brother Derek said, leaning back in his chair like he'd just won something. I felt my coffee cup freeze halfway to my mouth. The same lake house my grandfather built with his own hands in 1974. The same property Dad promised me when I turned 16, the day Grandpa died. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. I'm 34, married for 6 years, and I'd been planning to retire to that lake house since I was a teenager. Now my younger brother was telling me it was already his. What are you talking about? I set the cup down slowly. Derek smirked. That same expression he'd worn our entire childhood when he got away with something. Mom and Dad transferred the deed. It's done. Legal and everything. My wife Christina touched my arm, but I barely felt it. When were you planning to tell me? I just did. He shrugged. Besides, you've got your career and your house in the city. I need it more. I've got 3 kids, man. You don't even have any yet. The family dinner table went completely silent. Mom was staring at her plate like the pattern had suddenly become fascinating. Dad cleared his throat, but didn't look at me. My sister-in-law Victoria had the decency to look uncomfortable. We should talk about this privately, Christina whispered. But I couldn't move. 20 years of memories were crashing through my head like a freight train. Grandpa teaching me to fish off that dock. Dad telling me the place would be mine someday, because I was the one who loved it most. Every summer I'd spent maintaining it, repairing the roof, replacing the deck boards, painting the boathouse. How much more do you need, Derek? The words came out colder than I intended. You got the down payment for your house. You got the car when you crashed yours. You got the tuition money for your MBA that you never finished. That's different. Mom finally spoke up, her voice tight. Your brother has a family to support. So supporting a family means taking what was promised to someone else. Nothing was ever promised, Dad said firmly. We never put anything in writing. The floor dropped out from under me. You told me when I was 16. You were a kid, Dad interrupted. Kids hear what they want to hear. Christina's hand tightened on my arm, and I realized I was half out of my chair. I spent every vacation for the last 15 years maintaining that property. Every winter, I drove up to check on it. Every spring, I cleaned the gutters and fixed whatever broke. And we appreciated that, Mom said quickly. But Derek needs it now. You're doing well. You don't need a second property. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Derek leaned forward. That you're mad you didn't get something you think you deserve? Sounds pretty greedy to me. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. Christina stood with me, grabbing her purse. We're leaving, I said quietly. Don't be dramatic, Mom pleaded. Sit down. Let's talk about this like adults. Like adults. I looked at each of them. Adults don't steal from their own kids. Adults don't promise something for 20 years and then quietly give it to someone else. No one stole anything. Dad's voice rose. That property is ours to do with as we please. You're not entitled to our assets just because you want them. The word entitled hit me like a slap. Christina, let's go. We walked out while Mom was still calling after us. The drive home was silent except for the sound of rain starting to hit the windshield. Christina finally spoke when we were on the highway. What are you going to do? I don't know. That's not true. I can see you thinking. She was right. I was thinking about the hours I'd spent with Grandpa at that lake. The morning he showed me how to identify oak trees from maple. The afternoon he taught me to tie proper fishing knots. The evening he told me the property would stay in the family forever, that it was a legacy. They can't just do this, I said. Legally, they probably can. It's their property. But morally? Christina didn't answer right away. Your parents have always favored Derek. You know that. I didn't know that. Derek was the baby, the surprise child who came along when I was 8. He'd been coddled his entire life. But this felt different. This felt like erasure. I need to think, I said. When we got home, I went straight to my office and started pulling files. Every receipt for repairs I'd made to the lake house. Every email where Dad asked me to handle something up there. Every text message about maintenance schedules and property taxes. I'd been treating it like it was already mine for years. Because they'd told me it would be. Christina brought me coffee around midnight. Come to bed. Soon. It's been 3 hours. I looked up at her, and something in my expression made her sit down. They made me feel crazy, I said. Like I imagined the whole thing. You didn't imagine it. I was there when your dad talked about you inheriting the lake house. That was at our wedding reception, remember? He made that whole toast about family legacy. I'd forgotten about that. Do you still have the video? I think so. Let me check. She came back 10 minutes later with her laptop. The wedding video played, and there was Dad, slightly drunk, with his arm around my shoulder. To my eldest son, his voice echoed from the speakers, who's always loved that lake house like it was his own. And someday it will be. That's a promise. Christina paused the video. That's a promise, I repeated, in front of 100 witnesses. So what now? Now I call a lawyer. She didn't look surprised. This is going to get ugly. It already is ugly. I called my attorney friend Mitchell first thing Monday morning. We'd gone to law school together before I switched to finance. He listened to the whole story without interrupting. Do you have anything in writing? He asked when I finished. Just emails and texts about maintenance. Nothing about inheritance. The wedding video might be useful. Oral promises can be enforceable under certain circumstances, especially if you relied on them to your detriment. I spent thousands maintaining that property. Keep pulling together every receipt, every record of work you did. I'll need to see the current deed status too. When did they transfer it? Derek said 3 months ago. We'll need to verify that through county records. If they transferred it knowing you had an expectation of inheritance, and you had been acting as the de facto caretaker under that expectation, we might have grounds for a claim. What kind of claim? Promissory estoppel, possibly, or unjust enrichment. It depends on what we can prove. My phone buzzed while we were talking. Mom was calling. I let it go to voicemail. Your parents are going to fight this, Mitchell warned. Family cases are always the messiest. I know, but I didn't really know. Not yet. The voicemail Mom left was 7 minutes long. She spent the first 3 crying about how I was tearing the family apart. The next 4 explaining that Derek needed the lake house more because he had children and I was being selfish by not understanding that. She never once acknowledged the promise. Never once apologized for the deception. Just guilt and manipulation. Christina listened to it with me that night. She's trying to make you the villain, she observed. Yeah. Are you sure you want to do this? Legal action against your parents. I don't want to, but they've made it clear there's no other option. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Derek. Don't answer, Christina said. I answered anyway. What? Dude, what the hell? Mom's crying her eyes out. Dad's furious. You're really going to sue your own parents. How did you? They called Mitchell's office to talk some sense into him. He told them he was representing you. So yeah, now everyone knows you're being a greedy asshole. I'm being greedy? You stole property that was promised to me. Nothing was promised, man. Jesus, let it go. You've got plenty. Stop being bitter because Mom and Dad chose to help me instead. Help you? Derek, you're 31 years old. At what point do you start taking care of yourself? At least I have a family. At least I'm giving Mom and Dad grandkids. What are you giving them? A big house in the city you're never home to enjoy? Career awards they don't understand. The accusation stung more than I wanted to admit. Christina and I had been trying for a baby for 2 years. It wasn't happening. And somehow my brother knew exactly where to twist the knife. You don't know anything about my life? I said quietly. I know enough. I know you're so obsessed with getting what you think you deserve that you're willing to destroy this family. I didn't destroy anything. That happened when Mom and Dad lied to me for 20 years. They didn't lie. They changed their minds. People are allowed to do that. Not about something this important. Not without even telling me. Why should they tell you? It's their property. Their decision. Because it's basic human decency, Derek. Because you don't promise someone something for 2 decades and then quietly give it to someone else. God, listen to yourself. You sound like a spoiled brat. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Christina took the phone from me and set it on the counter. Breathe. I tried. They're gaslighting you, she said. All of them. Making you think you're crazy for being upset about something that would upset anyone. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I should just let it go. Do you want to let it go? I thought about Grandpa's hands, weathered and strong, teaching me how to hold a hammer properly. His voice telling me stories about building that lake house with his brother in the summers. The pride in his eyes when I fixed the dock by myself at age 17. No, I said, I don't want to let it go. Mitchell called 2 days later with the county records. The transfer happened exactly 3 months ago, like your brother said. But here's something interesting. What? Your name was on the deed. My heart stopped. What do you mean my name was on the deed? From 2019 to 3 months ago, the property was held in joint tenancy between your parents and you. They added you as an owner 5 years ago. The room started spinning. I never signed anything. You didn't have to. They could add you without your signature as a gift. But to remove you and transfer your share, they would have needed your signature unless. Unless what? Unless they forged it. Or unless you signed something you didn't realize was a deed transfer. I never signed anything. Then we have a serious problem. I'm requesting copies of all the transfer documents. If they forged your signature, that's fraud. I sat down hard. Oh my God, don't panic yet. Let me see the documents first. But if what I'm thinking happened actually happened, this isn't just a family dispute anymore. This is a criminal matter. I couldn't breathe. My parents had forged my signature? No, they wouldn't. Would they? Christina found me staring at the wall an hour later. Mitchell called me, she said gently. He told me about the deed. I can't believe this is happening. I can. She sat next to me. I've watched them favor Derek for 6 years. This is just the natural conclusion of that pattern. But fraud? Forgery? I know. My phone started ringing again. Dad this time. Christina grabbed it before I could. Hello, Richard, she said coolly. No, he can't talk right now. Because we're meeting with our attorney. Yes, the same attorney who just discovered that you illegally removed your son from a deed. I'd recommend you get your own lawyer. Soon. She hung up. That felt good, she admitted. Despite everything, I almost smiled. The documents arrived 3 days later. Mitchell called me to his office to go over them. He spread them out on the conference table with the careful precision of a surgeon. Look at this signature. I looked. It was supposed to be mine. But the loops were wrong. The pressure of the pen was different. That's not my signature, I said. Are you absolutely certain? Yes. Look at the G in my last name. I always connect it to the next letter. This one doesn't. And the baseline slants up. Mine stays level. Mitchell photographed the signature, then pulled out examples of my real signature from the documents I'd provided. The difference was obvious. This is forgery, he said flatly. Clear, prosecutable forgery. What do I do? First, we file a complaint with the county recorder's office. The transfer is void because it was fraudulent. Second, we file a police report. Third, we file a civil suit to restore the deed to its proper status and recover damages for fraud. You're talking about criminal charges against my parents. I'm talking about what the law requires. They committed a crime. Multiple crimes, actually. Forgery, fraud, potentially identity theft. I don't want to send my parents to jail. Mitchell leaned back. I understand. But you need to understand something too. If you don't pursue this criminally, they'll tell everyone you're making it up. They'll destroy your reputation in the family. They'll paint you as the villain who tried to steal from your poor, helpless brother. They're already doing that. Exactly. So you have two choices. You can back down and let them win, or you can stand up for yourself and accept the consequences. I thought about Derek's voice on the phone. Mom's 7-minute guilt trip. Dad's flat denial of a promise he'd made in front of 100 people. How long will this take? Months. Maybe a year. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Worse how? They'll fight. They'll make this as painful as possible. They'll try to turn every relative against you. They'll make Thanksgiving dinner into a war zone. We haven't been invited to Thanksgiving anyway. Mitchell's expression softened. I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you wanted. No one wants to sue their parents. But sometimes it's necessary. I signed the paperwork authorizing him to proceed. The police report was filed that afternoon. By evening, my phone was exploding. Not from mom or dad. From extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. All of them telling me what a horrible son I was. How could I accuse my parents of a crime? How could I be so greedy over property? How could I tear the family apart? Not one of them asked my side of the story. Not one of them said, wait, did they really forge your signature? They'd already decided I was the villain. Christina turned off my phone and made me dinner. Let them think what they want, she said. The truth will come out. What if the truth doesn't matter? It always matters. Maybe not to them, but to you, and to me, and to everyone else who actually knows you. I wanted to believe her. The next morning, Mitchell called. The county recorder agreed to freeze the property transfer pending investigation. Your parents have been notified. How did they react? Their attorney called me screaming for 20 minutes. Apparently, you're ruining their retirement plans. Their retirement plans. Derek was going to buy the lake house from them for significantly under market value. They were planning to use that money for a condo in Arizona. The pieces clicked into place. So this wasn't about Derek needing the property. It was about them getting money. Appears so. And they couldn't sell it to him properly while you were still on the deed because you'd have to approve the sale and split the proceeds. So they just erased me. Yes. I felt sick. They chose money over me. Mitchell didn't deny it. I need you to prepare for something, he said carefully. The detective assigned to the forgery case wants to interview you, and he's going to want to interview your parents. When? This week. The interview happened in a small room that smelled like old coffee and desperation. Detective Carver was in his 50s, with tired eyes and a kind voice. Tell me about your relationship with your parents, he started. I told him everything. The promises, the maintenance, the years of being told the lake house was my inheritance. The sudden discovery that it had been given to Derek. The realization that I'd been on the deed and had been removed without my knowledge. He took notes without commenting. Have you ever signed documents for your parents? Power of attorney, anything like that? No, never. Have you ever given them permission to sign your name? Never. Does your brother have access to your identification or personal documents? No. We don't live together. We haven't for over a decade. Detective Carver showed me the forged signature again. On a scale of 1 to 10, how similar is this to your actual signature? Maybe a 5. It's close enough that someone who didn't know my signature well might think it was real. But it's definitely not mine. Could your brother have practiced copying your signature? The thought had never occurred to me. I don't know. Maybe. Does he have samples of your signature? Old birthday cards, documents. Probably. We grew up in the same house. The detective made a note. I'll need to speak with your parents and your brother. This is now an active fraud investigation. I left the station feeling like I'd betrayed my entire family, even though I was the one who'd been betrayed first. Christina met me in the parking lot. How did it go? He thinks Derek might have forged it, not Mom and Dad. Does that make it better or worse? I don't know. We sat in the car for a long time before going home. The family explosion came 3 days later. Mom called from a number I didn't recognize because I'd blocked her original number. I answered without thinking. How could you? She screamed. The police came to our house. Our house. Like we're criminals. You committed fraud, Mom. We did not. We would never. This is all some misunderstanding, and you've turned it into a nightmare. A misunderstanding? You removed me from a deed without my permission using a forged signature. Your brother handled the paperwork. We didn't know. We trusted him. And there it was. The bus, and Derek being thrown under it. So Derek forged my signature? I didn't say that. You just did. You said he handled the paperwork. He took care of the administrative details. We're not lawyers. We didn't know what we were signing. But you knew you were transferring property that I had a legal interest in. It's our property. We can do what we want with it. Not when my name is on the deed. You can't. That's fraud, Mom. That's a crime. She started crying. The same manipulation tactic she'd used my entire life. Your father is devastated. He might have a heart attack from the stress. Is that what you want? To kill your father? I want the truth. The truth is that you're destroying this family over money. The truth is that you lied to me for 20 years and then committed fraud when I found out. I hung up before she could respond. My hands weren't shaking this time. I was just tired. So incredibly tired. Detective Carver called the next week. I've interviewed your parents and your brother. And your parents claim they had no idea the signature was forged. They say your brother handled all the paperwork and they just signed what he put in front of them. Do you believe them? It doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what I can prove. Your brother, however, is a different story. What did he say? He invoked his right to remain silent and requested an attorney. So he did it. That's not an admission of guilt, but it's certainly suspicious. Innocent people usually want to explain. What happens now? Now we wait for his attorney to decide if he wants to cooperate or fight. Meanwhile, I've sent the signature to a forensic document examiner. We should have results in a few weeks. And if it's proven to be forged, then your brother will be arrested for forgery, fraud, and identity theft. Your parents may face charges as well if we can prove they knew about it. I thanked him and ended the call. Christina was watching me from the doorway. Derek did it, I said. I'm not surprised. He's always taken shortcuts. But why? What does he gain? The lake house. And your parents' approval. That's all he's ever wanted. She was right. Derek had spent his entire life trying to measure up to the responsible older brother. The one who got good grades, went to law school, built a career, and he'd never managed it. So he'd found another way to win. By taking what was mine. The forensic report came back 6 weeks later. The signature was definitively forged. The report detailed microtremors in the pen strokes, indicating hesitation and careful copying. The pressure patterns were wrong. The baseline drift was inconsistent with my natural handwriting. It wasn't even a particularly good forgery. It had just been good enough. Detective Carver called with the news. We have enough for an arrest warrant. I wanted to give you a heads up before we proceed. You're arresting Derek? Yes, and possibly your parents, depending on what your brother says. What do you mean? If he admits they knew about the forgery, they'll be charged as accessories. If he says he acted alone, they'll likely face civil liability, but no criminal charges. So Derek can choose whether to take them down with him. Essentially, yes. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt hollow. The arrest happened on a Tuesday morning. I know because Derek's wife Victoria called me, sobbing. They arrested him at work. In front of everyone. His boss, his colleagues, everyone. Victoria, I'm sorry. Sorry? You did this. You had your own brother arrested. He forged my signature. He committed fraud. For a property you don't even need. You have everything. Why couldn't you just let him have this one thing? Because it was mine. Because he stole it. He's going to lose his job. We're going to lose the house. The kids are asking why Daddy didn't come home. Are you happy now? I wasn't happy, but I wasn't sorry either. He made his choice, Victoria. I'm not responsible for the consequences. She hung up cursing me. Mom called an hour later. No tears this time. Just cold rage. I hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't forge anyone's signature, Mom. You know what you did. You could have let this go. You could have been the bigger person. Instead, you've destroyed your brother's life. He destroyed his own life when he committed fraud. We're done, she said flatly. Don't call. Don't visit. You're not welcome in this family anymore. You made that clear when you gave away my inheritance without telling me. That property was never yours. You were never on that deed. Derek was right. You're delusional. The county records say I was on the deed for 5 years, Mom. That's not delusion. That's fact. Those records are wrong. Or you're lying. She hung up. And that was it. No family left. No parents. No brother. No extended relatives who believed my side. Just me and Christina and the truth. The criminal case moved slowly. Derek pleaded not guilty. His attorney tried to argue that he'd made an honest mistake, that he thought he had permission to sign my name. The forensic evidence made that argument difficult. The trial was scheduled for 8 months out. In the meantime, Mitchell worked on the civil case. The deed transfer was officially voided. My name was restored to the property records. And we filed suit against Derek and my parents for damages. Every dollar I'd spent maintaining the property, plus attorney fees, plus compensation for fraud. My parents countersued, claiming I'd slandered them. It was a mess. An expensive, emotionally draining, family-destroying mess. Christina held my hand through all of it. We're going to be okay, she promised. Are we? Yes, because we have each other. And we have the truth. The truth felt cold and lonely. But it was still the truth. The trial happened on a gray Monday in March. The courtroom was small and sterile. Derek sat at the defense table in a suit that looked too big for him. My parents sat in the gallery, glaring at me. Victoria was there with their kids, who were confused and restless. I tried not to look at them. The prosecution presented the forensic evidence. The expert testified that the signature was definitively forged. They showed examples of my real signature side by side with the forgery. The differences were obvious to everyone in the room. Derek's attorney tried to argue reasonable doubt. Maybe the signature differences were just normal variation. Maybe I'd signed it and forgotten. Maybe I was lying for financial gain. The jury didn't buy it. They deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Forgery, fraud, identity theft. Derek's face went white. Victoria started crying. My parents stood up and walked out without looking at me. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. 3 years in prison, 5 years probation. Full restitution of all my maintenance costs plus attorney fees. A permanent criminal record. Derek's attorney asked for leniency, citing his young children. The judge wasn't sympathetic. You defrauded your own brother, she said coldly. You exploited family trust for personal gain. That shows a serious lack of moral character. Derek was led away in handcuffs. I watched him go and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just emptiness. The civil case against my parents settled out of court. They agreed to pay my attorney fees and formally acknowledged that I was the rightful owner of my share of the lake house. In return, I dropped the emotional damages claim. Mitchell advised against it, but I was done. I just wanted it over. The settlement included a clause that we would have no further contact. That was fine by me. I didn't want to talk to them anyway. Christina and I drove to the lake house for the first time in over a year. It looked exactly the same. The dock where Grandpa taught me to fish. The boathouse I'd repainted at 17. The kitchen window that overlooked the water. We stood on the porch in silence. Do you still want it? Christina asked. I don't know. We could sell it. Use the money for something else. Maybe. But I didn't want to sell it. Despite everything, I didn't want to let it go. Because it wasn't about the property. It never had been. It was about being seen, being valued, being kept a promise to. And now I had the property, but I'd lost my family. Was it worth it? Christina asked quietly. I looked at the lake, calm and gray in the afternoon light. Yes, I said finally. Because they gave me a choice between my dignity and their approval. And I chose dignity. No regrets. Plenty of regrets. But not about this. She squeezed my hand. We stayed at the lake house that weekend. I fixed the loose boards on the dock that had been bothering me for years. Christina cleaned the windows and aired out the musty bedroom. It felt like exorcising ghosts. On Sunday afternoon, we sat on the porch with coffee and watched the sun set. What now? Christina asked. Now we live. We make new memories here. We make it ours. Not your grandfather's legacy. No, ours. I got a letter from Derek 3 months into his prison sentence. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. The handwriting was messy, like he'd written it quickly without planning. I'm sorry it started. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry I did it. He explained that he'd been drowning in debt. That Victoria's medical bills from a difficult pregnancy had buried them. That he'd been desperate and stupid. That mom and dad had promised to help him buy the lake house cheap, and he'd panicked when they told him I was on the deed. I thought if I just handled it quietly, no one would ever know, he wrote. I thought you'd never check the records. I thought I could just slip past this one time. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't ask me to help with appeals or early release. He just apologized. It didn't change anything, but it helped somehow. I never wrote back. I didn't need to. Mom sent a birthday card that year. Just a card, no note, no signature. Like she was testing the waters. I threw it away. Dad never reached out at all. And that was fine. Christina got pregnant in August. We found out the day before the 2nd anniversary of that terrible family dinner. We cried together, happy tears this time. Should we tell them? She asked. Who? Your parents. About the baby. I thought about it. About Grandpa's weathered hands and kind eyes. About promises kept and promises broken. About legacy and what it really means. No, I said. This baby is ours. Our family. Our legacy. Okay. She didn't push. We painted the nursery blue and white, lake colors. We hung a picture of the lake house on the wall. And when our son was born the following spring, we took him to the lake for the first time when he was 3 weeks old. He slept in a bassinet on the porch while Christina and I sat in the same chairs where Grandpa had told me about building this place. Your great-grandfather built this, I whispered to my sleeping son. And someday it'll be yours. That's a promise. Christina smiled. A real promise, she said. A real promise, I agreed. Because that's what legacy really is. Not property. Not money. Not things passed down through generations. It's promises kept. It's dignity defended. It's truth told even when the cost is high. I lost my family of origin, but I built a better one. One where words mean something. Where promises are kept. Where people are valued more than property. Derek got out on early release after 18 months for good behavior. I heard about it through a mutual friend. He moved 2 states away with Victoria and the kids. I hope he's doing better. I hope he learned something. But it's not my responsibility anymore. My parents sent a Christmas card last year. It had a photo of them in Arizona, tanned and smiling. No message inside, just their names printed on the bottom. I kept it in a drawer for a month before throwing it away. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. And that's okay, because I have a son now who looks at me with total trust, who believes every word I say, who knows that when Daddy makes a promise, Daddy keeps it. That's the only legacy that matters. The lake house sits on the water, solid and real. Proof that some things are worth fighting for. Proof that dignity isn't free. Proof that truth wins, even when it costs everything. I don't regret the fight. I don't regret the loss. I regret that it was necessary. But I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Because I know now what I didn't know then. Some people will never see your worth. Some people will always choose convenience over character. Some people will take and take and take, then call you greedy when you ask them to stop. And those people don't deserve a place in your life. Even if they're family. Especially if they're family. Because family isn't supposed to steal from you. Family isn't supposed to lie to you. Family isn't supposed to make you choose between your dignity and their love. Real family doesn't make you choose at all. Christina and I are taking our son to the lake next weekend. We're teaching him to fish off the dock. We're showing him the trees Grandpa taught me about. We're building new memories on top of old pain. And when he's old enough to understand, I'll tell him the whole story. Not to make him hate his grandparents. Not to turn him against his uncle. but to teach him that some things are worth fighting for. That truth matters more than peace. That dignity is priceless. And that promises, real promises, are sacred. That's the inheritance I'm giving him. Not property. Character. The lake house is just a house. But the lesson it taught me is forever. And that's worth more than any amount of money. That's worth more than any relationship built on lies. That's worth everything I lost. And everything I gained.